Welcome back to Friday Live. My name is Kieran Fox and I'm the manager of Youth Work Ireland, Cavan Monaghan.
My name is Melissa and I work in the Youth Information Project with Youth Work Ireland, Cavan Monaghan.
My name is Con and I work with the Bounce Back Project in Cavan with Youth Work Ireland.
Okay, guys, so we've got a couple of different themes coming up again this week. A lot of stuff around employment, and there's a few other pieces that we're going to push out to next week as well, but we'll sort of give you a brief overview of those before we finish up. But I want to start particularly around where we finished up last week, which was we talked about if I'm finishing school, can I apply for job seekers? And the answer, Melissa, was no, because you would have to be out of school for a certain period. So do you want to just recap on what the situation is? If you're leaving school and you would have been expecting to have summer work, and now obviously you can't. So where does that leave you?
Well, I suppose, Kieran, it's not good news really, because yeah, we have been getting a lot of questions and kind of young people asking, you know, they were intending to work over the summer and now that's not an option, and what financial help can they get? And if you have just left school, so you just did your leaving cert, you have to be 12 weeks out of school before you can apply for any job seekers allowance or anything like that. So you're kind of stuck at the moment, because really, I suppose, social welfare are assuming that you're probably going to college. So it's not an option to try and get job seekers. And I understand the worries are for the young people that they actually expected to be able to save some money over the summer for going to college. So they're feeling a bit of the nip and the pressure, even for their parents, of what is out there for them, or how they can contribute to the whole thing. But just to say, I didn't say last week that if you were finished college, so if you've done your 3 years or your 4 years and you're finished your whole course, well, you're actively seeking work then, and you could apply for job seekers allowance then. Of course, you're still going to be assessed if you're living with your parents with their income as well, and depends on your age. But if you were finished college, you are considered that you're actively seeking work, and then you could apply for it. So that might be something for the ones that are finished college.
Okay, excellent. Because that was something that came up again this week in terms of if you're finished college, are you in the same position, or can you sign on and receive social welfare payments?
I forgot to say about the back to school clothing and footwear.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a payment called the back to school clothing and footwear, and most families that are already on a payment will get it automatically. So they'll automatically be notified by letter that they're going to get it. So you shouldn't really need to fill in a form. But some people may not know that if your child is between 18 and 22 and they're continuing on in their second level education, so it might be that they're doing a PLC or they're just finishing their leaving cert, and you know, you might think, oh, well, they're going to be cut off when they're 18. They can still get that payment as well, the parent can. So maybe sometimes, because the social welfare might think they're kind of finished up, you might need to notify them that your child's continuing on there. But at the start of July, you usually get a letter to say you're going to get. So it's a once-off payment to help towards clothes and footwear for your children going to school.
Okay, excellent. So there's some good news as well as some bad.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay, there was other stuff coming in then around apprenticeships and solace courses. The ETB's coordinator of apprenticeships and solace courses has agreed to come and speak to us. She wasn't available today, but we're very hopeful that she'll be here next week. So certainly tune in next week at 3:30, and we'll be going into a little bit more depth on apprenticeships and solace courses. Okay, I want to now move on to something that everyone's talking about today, which is the some of the rather startling scenes we've seen around the country as one of our oldest and truest friends, Penny's, has reopened its doors today. So if you bear with me while I get this set up to, just turned off computer sound, which isn't ideal. Okay, we're just going to have a quick look at these scenes in Mary Street, Dublin this morning. and so on and so forth. So, Con, not a whole lot of social distancing evidence there, is there?
No, there's not, and I suppose we are all relieved in a way that things are easing, and that's great, and we can go back and shop in pennies, and we can go out and see other people as well. But just a word of caution there. The problem, the fact why we can do this is because we've been so good before. We have, we have adhered to all these social distancing protocols, and our numbers is low, so is our infection rates. But if people don't still take them into consideration and go out and shop and don't keep to the social distance, what is probably going to happen is we're going to just revert. We're probably going to go back to what we were doing a month ago. So the problem is these restrictions are eased slowly because it's to help the health service and the service in general cope with the new numbers. The problem is if people don't adhere to all the social distance measures and washing your hands and all these things, it might accelerate again in phase 2. And then what will happen is if that happened all the time, eventually in the next month, we'll be back to where we were 6-8 weeks ago. Everything will be locked down. So we're all in this together. We spoke this before. We're all in this together. We're all interconnected as never before. Before when we go to public and we meet and we talk, we're all connected all around the country. And the effects that some people in pennies today can have on older people around the country is there. It can be like a ripple effect. So you just have to be mindful, keep all the rules in, and I would say wear masks in public. You should be wearing masks in public. That's what you should be doing. If you want us to beat this pandemic and you want things to go back in the near future, you have to keep to those rules. You have to wash your hands. You have to wear your mask. Because if we see scenes like that, what's going to happen is we're just going to be stepping back. This could be perpetual. We could be doing this for the next year. We could be coming out of lockdown and people going, that's great, running around, going back in, go back in, and not, because we have to get the numbers down to 0. We have to beat this virus. And basically by people doing that, you're not beating the virus, you're helping the virus beat us.
No, what you're saying is absolutely right. We need to be very, very mindful that the only reason that these things are able to happen is because people have been so disciplined. And the government has, this roadmap to reopening that we're now on. But of course, that is subject to the rate of R and the development of the pandemic. And, there's every chance we could go backwards if we end up in that situation where the rates starts to increase again. There was something else I just wanted to highlight there as well, which is, Melissa, I know we were speaking about a number of young people contacting us during the week around the role of Gardaí at the moment and the powers that Gardaí have. And obviously there were a number of Gardaí within that video as well. So we're going to be joined next week by a Garda inspector who's going to be telling us a little bit about the powers that the Guards currently have. And he's also going to be taking a few questions as well. So certainly to anybody with questions or who wants to have any thoughts addressed by a Garda inspector, then please let us know during the week and we can aim to bring those up. But yeah, I suppose there's something very important. That was pennies. Pennies is like that in the run up to Christmas, some might say. While certainly I've never seen a queue like that, it is an incredibly busy store. But is that the case in other shops around the country, Melissa?
Well, I was in Aldi's today and I decided, because I do watch the news, listen to the news, and Simon Harris is really pushing to wear the masks. So I said, okay, right, I'm going to try today. I'm going to wear the mask in Aldi's. And when I was in Aldi's, I was really shocked at how many people were in there, and that it has changed over the last few weeks. I do my shopping in Aldi. It's been very calm and slow and everything. People were giving space to each other as they were walking down the aisles. And when I was in today, I kind of thought, my God, are we back at the start? Has nothing changed, or, is it just forgotten about? And I felt even the staff were trying to stock stuff while we were walking around as well. So there was no room anywhere. And I took my 2 kids with me, and it's the first time I've taken them with me as well. So they were kind of like, Mom, there's so many people around and I don't know where to stand, because they were trying to kind of work around me and work around the trolley. So it did make me think that not everybody is delighted that the shops are back open again. And there is people with anxiety that when they have to go in and deal with this, thinking about, what's the possibilities of, you know, infection and stuff like that. It was quite, you know, I was a bit on edge, and I couldn't wait to get out the door again and get away from everybody. And everyone was just all over the place, and it felt uncomfortable. It definitely felt uncomfortable. So I think lots of people are excited about pennies and the like being open, but there is still people who don't want to go into shops and kind of are happy enough to stay at home, or feel, God, if I have to go into a shop, what am I going to have to deal with? So it's not for everybody. So, and I have friends of mine who have vulnerable people in their family, and they very much do not want to get back to normal, and they're still kind of cocooning and trying to keep things to a minimum. So there's some people who are racing out the door to get to pennies, and some people that are trying to hold back.
And Con, that's something that I think we're all a little bit, we're all thinking a little bit in terms of, there are some people who aren't ready for everything to go back to the way it maybe was, and certainly people who are shielding or are just trying to be that little bit more careful. And there'll be a lot of people out there saying, I have no doubt, well, then stay at home, stay away from pennies. But, you know, and okay, fine. But when we see, or when we hear of instances like this in Aldi, in Lidl, in all shops across the country, then, you know, people have to shop. They need groceries, they need essentials. And also, surely it's a thing of respect. Surely it's a case of people being able to go out and do what they need to do without feeling, you know, almost threatened in a way, because there are guidelines out there, they're acting within them, but others aren't. So is it a case that we can start to go, brilliant, sure, it's all relaxed now? Or is it a case of respect where we should be saying, well, actually, look, you know, I'm fine, or I'm confident in this situation, but I don't know what the person next to me is feeling.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think what we need in this time, like more than any, is empathy for the other people. I suppose in my own role as a youth worker, you see a lot of young people who had, you know, social anxiety and other things. It's become heightened now in this, and they're home, and it's basically been like a prison for some people for 8 weeks, and it's hard for them to go out. And everybody must understand, we all go back this again. We're all in this together. We all have to be empathetic. Just because you might think, right, COVID-19 is over, brilliant, great, let's do what we want to do. But there's other people out there. So when you're going out, just protect them. Just protect them. Wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your distance. And because we all deal with things differently, that's the way we are human beings. Some people are going to adapt quicker back into some kind of normality, and it's going to take other people a long time. So just ask everybody to have empathy. If you want to do with your family, that's your decision, but you shouldn't be making decisions for other people. So just have a little bit of empathy.
Absolutely. And look, I had the privilege of sort of being involved in a Planet Youth event for parents, an online conference, parenting your adolescent during COVID-19 recently. And one of the things that came through very strongly was that this pandemic has been very hard on young people, on a lot of young people, in terms of that social isolation, social anxiety, and being separated from their friends, their peers, their supports, all those things that the peer group can be and is to a great many young people. Something else that came out, though, very strongly is that for some young people, this has been brilliant, because young people who are experiencing social anxiety, who are not, maybe go so far as to say being bullied in school or experiencing bullying, all these kinds of things were the way we were behaving was not positive for them, have really come into themselves and have really, for some of them, some parents talked about seeing their child grow an awful lot during this. Others talked about how great it was to see their young person be a child again, to have that release from peer pressures and social pressures, to actually be able to relax into themselves and be themselves. And I mean, it's got to be a scary time for young people who are a little bit more scared, who don't want to go back to the way things were. Does it or does it not? Either of you can come in on that.
Yeah, I just think it is interesting, the point about some young people and people have tried at being at home, And I suppose it's worked both ways. But I know even some of the young people from our service that a couple of weeks ago, when school was still on and we were contacting them, they were actually doing really, really well at home because they didn't have to deal with that, the friends and the people in the class and the teachers and all of that. And they were actually getting into their own routine at home and doing very well. Whereas when they might have been at school, they mightn't have been attending very well, or there was things stopping them from going to school, and that had been kind of taken away. And another bit that came to my mind there was I know a play therapist, and I met her the other day outside the shop, and she said she's had hardly any phone calls because the child is at home and they're happy because they're with their parents. And the anxiety that they were feeling through school or through whatever it was wasn't happening. So she was saying, I'm willing for phone calls, I'm willing to be contacted, and I'm not getting the contact because the child is actually happy. I know that's not for everybody, but there is some young people that are children that experience anxiety that for them it's been a different experience. But now they have to go back out, and now they have to kind of reintegrate. So I think it's about trying to understand that. And even if we're saying, oh look, we should all understand about other people, then the person who as well who's experienced the anxiety is for them to realize they don't have to be like everybody else. They don't have to run out of pennies, and they can take it in smaller steps, that they can do it at their pace of what makes them comfortable. So is it just trying to do things, once and go to somewhere like a local shop that it won't take them as long and coming back home again? Or is it going out with their friends for a wee while and coming back home, that they don't have to stay out like everybody else is on the street or in the estate or whatever it is? Just do it at their own pace.
Yeah.
No, go on ahead, Con.
I would just say, for me, there's a great positive coming out of this COVID. I know we haven't seen it, but it has strengthened a lot of family relationships. Whenever and probably ever again are, working mothers who do the second shift and work and come home and all this thing. Our fathers, the same thing. They could be out truck driving around, get time to spend this amount of time with the kids and build up relationship. So for me, it's been a very positive experience in that way because my relationships are strengthened. But yeah, and it's shown us as well that we're all different, and young people who may be suffering with anxiety, that'll be a good time for them to build a relationship with their parents or their friends. And as Melissa said, we're all different. We don't have to be sheep. We all don't have to go to pennies and queue up there and we can go and do our own thing. And that's what makes the world so great, because of just a bunch of individuals. So you just do what you feel comfortable. But it is sometimes it's very positive to do something that you're a little bit uncomfortable with, just a little bit, and you should be doing something like that every day, and that's good for building up your resilience. And because life does throw you at these curveballs, and you don't know what you're going to be facing. Like, who knew we were going to be facing this? And we've all got over it. We're all still here. We all have a different kind of normality, but that's because as human beings are very malleable.
No, I couldn't agree more. And as I said, a lot of some of that thinking for me came out of that conference down in Galway, and I was so impressed with it. It's something that I've spoken to a number of our partners about. It's something that we're going to be bringing here to Cavan Monaghan, to parents, just as a small support. And there's going to be a number of those over the next few months as the phases progress. Starting with a sort of a transitionary conference for parents, and it's a webinar where they can engage, enroll, and take part in workshops with youth workers and with psychotherapists for young people. And the parents that night found it to be a tremendous support. So that's something we're working on with our partners in Tusla, Cavan, Sipsey, Monaghan, Sipsey, and across the sector. So that's something we look forward to there. Look, guys, that is...
I would just like to say something, Cale. I'm sorry. I'd just like to say something on employment. That's all right.
By all means.
I suppose what this time has shown us is the changing nature of employment. The people that have really prospered now are the people that can do a home and Zoom, or the people who can work offline. So for young people, you have to be thinking like that, because this is the way employment is going to change. You look around and who has prospered, who has still got the job, who is sitting at home on Zoom, on their online meetings and doing that. Some of the jobs that, that were traditionally in rural Ireland, like working in meat factories and, working in the agriculture industry and stuff like that, you've seen there's been a lot of infection rates. So you're going to have to think outside the box and think of a job where you can do online remotely, because we don't know, another pandemic could come in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We don't know. But employment is changing, and you have to think of that, and you have to make it more computer-based. I got that out in the end. But yeah, use it on your phones all day, use it on your tablets. It's simple. It's only coding or something like that. So have a look at your jobs now, because they will change over time.
And one piece of work I'd reference there in relation to that, Con, is the digital health conference that you and your team in Bounce Back have led out so brilliantly for 2 years now in County Cavan. I know that there's plans to roll out something similar, although a conference is going to look a bit different now in County Monaghan. And that's about, I know we talked a lot about not calling it a cyber safety conference. It's about digital health. It's about, this is the way the world is going. Increasingly school is going this way, education is moving in this way, employment is increasingly moving into this sort of sphere of thought as well. And certainly this pandemic has given it a violent push forward. And I found all kinds of things that I had no idea you could do on a computer, and probably haven't found a lot of things that you can do as well. But it's all about engaging with it in a positive way, because if used correctly and responsibly, the digital world, the cyber world, is such a powerful resource and tool. And you're absolutely right. It is the future of employment. It is the future of a lot of industry, and so it's something to engage with positive. I think that's fair to say. Melissa, I know that your service has just, well, when I say just, in the last few months, launched its YIC online chat service, where young people can reach out to qualified youth workers. That's an interactive service in partnership with Spun Out, Crosscare, and a number of other agencies. Do you want to just give us the times that that's available?
Yeah. So basically, it's on spunout.ie, and it's from 4 to 8 Monday to Friday. So what it is that there's youth workers, youth information workers waiting to chat to young people that they have a question and they're looking for an answer. So it could be about employment, education, the leaving cert applied, anything at all through that time. So Spun Out do lots of ads around that time on Instagram and Facebook and all of that kind of stuff, that you can just tap it and you will get in contact with us. And we're all based around the country, and we answer your questions there and then on the spot. And it's really good, and it's getting quite busy now, because the word is kind of getting out there more. But from 4 to 8 Monday to Friday, you can live chat with us. But even if you can leave us a question outside those hours, and we'll get back to you between 4 and 8 when the next time we're on.
And just as well as that, during this lockdown, since the beginning of this lockdown, we've here in Youth Work Ireland, yourself, Melissa, yourself, Con, and the rest of our team have stepped up so well in terms of providing that online presence from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week for young people to reach out and speak to a professional youth worker instantly as well. So there's so many resources out there, and please do utilise them. That's Spun Out one in particular, absolutely fantastic service and very, very exciting. It was talked about at a meeting I was at this morning, and some of the figures, some of the statistics are really astonishing. 80% of the young people who have engaged in the service so far have rated it 5 stars. So that is just superb. That's 5 out of 5, by the way. We didn't come up with a 15-star rating scale or anything.
Just before we go, I'm Susie mad, but today is the date for if you're already in college, but you have to send a return in basically to Susie to say, you're going next year and you still want the grant. So existing students is the word I'm looking for. Existing students have to have it back in today. So they would have got an email, and it's very quick. They would have got it in, and it's for priority ones, as in if you get it in now, you'll get your answer pretty quickly. But you can still send it in anyway after this date, but this is the priority date. And then the priority date for first-time applicants is still not till July, so you're okay there.
Excellent. However, I think, Melissa, am I right in saying that even if you are a first-time applicant, you can get it submitted now and get it in and get it off your...
Just get it in and get it over with. You can apply anytime now, and myself and Olivia are available on the phone if you need any help with it, and I can put the poster up after this on this thread.
Excellent. So it'll be the poster with the details for Susie grant support will be in the comments underneath this video. Okay, guys, we're out of time, but join us next week, 3:30. We'll be coming back with a bumper edition. We'll take as long as we need to get through it. We're going to have a Garda inspector with us talking about Garda powers under COVID-19 and indeed answering any questions. And with any luck, we're hoping to have the CMETB APO of apprenticeships and solace courses and further education with us, Sinead McKenna, as well. So look forward to that. Please do send us your questions during the week. We are back on Monday at 5:30 with LGBT Live with Barry and Cavan and Rainbow Youth. And Con, you are back on Wednesday with Sandra. Sorry?
At 6 p.m., sorry.
6 p.m. Perfect. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Answering questions from parents and addressing issues that parents are flagging with us over the next 7 days. Thank you very much for joining us, guys, and be safe, have a good time, and don't go too mad in pennies.